Well, look at that. It's Wednesday. I was going to say it's Monday. It was Groundhog Day all over again. Joey's got the salute for you. It's Joey. Broncos football's back. All right. We had a bye week. It was a little bit long. It was a little bit, I don't know. It gave me the sads. I know the chat was telling us on Monday that they needed the refresher. It was good for them. And, maybe it was good for a break too, but I just highly anticipated coming back to this week. I know we got the Colts on Sunday. I hope it's not reminiscent of the last time the Broncos played the Colts, where the stadium was streaming out because the score was atrocious and the play was nothing to write home about.
It was such a bad game.
It was so bad. It was just bad football. Regardless of a win or a loss, I still would have felt dirty if the Broncos had pulled it off. It was just terrible.
I don't even have any memories from that game, and I was there. That's like,
Didn't you go with me?
I think I was either with you. I don't know. Yeah, I probably was with you.
You were with me.
It was like miserable. Like that game was absolutely miserable. I remember the feeling of that game. I have no memories of how it went. I remember we had a shot at the end. I remember thinking, damn, Russell Wilson. I almost tweeted out, like, hey, it's Teddy Bridgewater, come save us. I was doing a lot during that game. I remember what I was doing. I have no recollection of what happened on the field. It was bad, though.
All right. Well, maybe that's why we don't remember being there. You've been to a couple of games with me, but I don't remember either. All I know is there was a 10 or a 9 score going on somewhere, someplace, and it was not warm. It was just a bad day in general. But Joey, now I need you to dig in to the memory bank and try to remember the last time you were this excited about Denver Broncos football. Like, not just like preseason excitement, not just like, ooh, the Broncos went on a 4-game win streak excitement. We're talking the last time you were excited for Denver Broncos football in this late in the season.
I think it had to be 2016. And I wasn't covering the Broncos then. Like the year after the Super Bowl, Trevor Siemian at least had them at, they finished with a 9-7 season that year. I think that's the last time. Other than that, it's been really bad. So I'm so excited right now for the Broncos. It's going to be really fun to just see, hey, the Broncos have a chance at a playoffs. I don't know if I've necessarily it's hit me yet. I don't think it really will, Bree, until I'm sitting there during playoff week and the Broncos are about to play. That's going to be crazy. I want everybody to come in here. If you're around my age, at least, and you haven't seen all that great of Broncos, like 2015 was the peak. You saw some good Broncos before that, but I was younger before. This is like the real time where I'm going to be processing it all, maybe taking it all in. Hey, the Broncos have a rookie quarterback that got us here. The Broncos have a head coach I feel really confident in. The Broncos defense is balling out. Like, this is the first time in a long time that I can remember saying any of those three things. Especially, well, I guess the defense, I could say. But young quarterback playing good, feel really confident in my head coach. Can't say that for a while.
Yeah, you can't. The combination is definitely there. I think that's what's lending itself to that. LTB Muse made sure to get a little cutting sentence in there. The most important game in decades, and we're 10 minutes late. You know by now, this show doesn't start on time. And if it does start on time, we're missing entire segments. But don't worry. Do not fear. I'm here. Zach Seegers is obviously out tonight. That should come as no surprise either. Colin Harrington said the Colts game was dumb. I was pissed about those 2 interceptions Russ threw. Me both.
Is that the game KJ Hamler like threw his helmet on the ground? Chat, let me know. I think
somebody dig in the archives and let us know. We're not here to lament against, I guess, the former years. We're past that. We've moved on. We're happier now. We're seeing somebody new. We're excited about it. There's a future on the horizon. But with the Broncos' next win, Joey, they're going to secure their first winning season since that 2016 excitement. And I really kind of love first and foremost, Zach Seeger's coming in saying so excited for this game. Sad I can't be on with y'all tonight. Well, that makes one of us.
Look at that profile picture, by the way. It's Teddy Two Gloves. Hey, respect to Zach for that one.
I know. I'm surprised he hasn't changed it. I feel like it's part of the lore now, so you don't have to worry about that. But Joey, Sean Payton, cool as a cucumber as always, and always having that kind of, I don't know, vinegar to him when asked about that winning season, said that they're not really focused on that, obviously, but their aspirations are a lot higher. I just want to qualify that real quick because I think all of Broncos country is really excited for the winning season. You've shed the Raiders streak, the Chiefs streak, and now this not having a winning season streak, it's time for it to come to an end. And I feel like that's why it's so important. That's why it's being brought up so often. It's why we were talking about the possibility when we were coalescing over the 5.5 wins over under for the preseason. So why is it important, Joey? Why is a winning season something that we're all so ultra focused on?
I just think it shows that we're heading in the right direction. This winning season, Brie, it wouldn't mean as much to me if I didn't think that it led to a good future. Like if the Broncos were doing this with Russell Wilson, for example, right? I mean, I got a lot of backlash for what I was saying when they were winning with Russell Wilson last year. It feels different, though, because the difference between a young Bo Nix and an old Russell Wilson who still isn't really playing all that great, but hey, at least we're winning. There's a huge difference there. It's not the same thing. This winning season specifically feels important, not because I think the Broncos are a Super Bowl team, but because this might be one of the worst rosters I think the Broncos have for a while, and they're winning. Like, you have a rookie quarterback who I don't think players progress on that, the Madden trajectory where it's like, hey, they get 2+ overall better every year until they turn 30, and then they get 1 overall worse. I don't think it's that, but I think it's fair to at least expect quarterbacks to improve from their rookie season. Sophomore slump's a thing, whatever. I would expect Bo Nix to continue to climb the same way he has shown this year. Along with Russell Wilson's cap is still hurting this team. Russell Wilson's salary is still hurting this team massively right now. So I think this next year, when he only has one more year left on his deal and it's still hurting the Broncos next year, hey, we can play with that at least. We can backload these contracts to make it where, they're taking the heavy load of the deal later, and we can still add a good player or two to this team, and we can still improve another young draft class. How many times have we had a first-round pick recently? We're going to have a full draft class this next year. Like, all of these things lead me to believe that this might be one of the worst Broncos teams we see for a little bit. Unless someone comes in and fucks it up, that happens. But hey, at least on the trajectory right now, this should be one of the worst Broncos teams, and it's exciting to see. We're in the playoffs, and I think that.
Guys, like the stream right now to support the worst roster the Broncos have seen for quite some time. I know when Joey says that, I think my face kind of flinches a little bit, simply because that notion isn't how I'm inferring it. And there is obviously talent. There's obviously been individuals who have been able to step up, but there has been the need for growth and development and more depth along a lot of the position groups. I just had to kick Lucy off of my lap because she's driving me crazy. So now I can focus solely on the show here. But Joey, I want to emphasize that. I want to echo that sentiment a little bit, because it just means that climb is going to continue. Right. Then you get to make a plan of action, not only for your offense and the weapons around Bo Nix, but also your defense. I want to recall, right, that right now on the injury report, it's the shortest I think I've ever seen it in a handful of years. You've got two individuals, Brandon Jones and Riley Moss. Obviously, Jones is limited and Riley Moss has not seen the field. I know he was out there today, but on the side, did not practice and probably won't be practicing. We'll talk about that here in a moment, but this is the time of the year where you're really testing the depth of your roster. And the Broncos have been, blessed enough to not have to do that to the very frustrating ways that they had to do so in the past, where you've got, third, fourth string out there, and you're really frustrated by it. But I think we're starting to see a little remnant of that presently right now. I'll get to that in just a second. Dreamweaver said, so, hey, times three. So excited to see this team take the next step and make it to the playoffs. I know it feels almost premature when we're talking about it, but the Broncos have a real chance here. I think even at one point is a little bit, right? They still yet to play the Chargers for the second time. So I think the NFL rankings are a little bit wonky, putting them at 6.5, 7 in that spot there, where you could flip them in the Chargers either way. But this is just so much different than the 12% chance of making the playoffs that we've seen in the past, where they're out and they're sitting as one of the very first teams eliminated. So really love that it's a different conversation right now, which is why we're going to be leaning ultra positive. And then I obviously commend anyone in the chat who wants to throw a wet blanket at us in order to refute it. But I'm going to remain positive because it's been a while. I don't know if people have been around for as long as we've been streaming here at Let's Talk Broncos, but there are some seasons where at this point, I was trying to crawl to my screen just to make it happen. And I feel like we're just that much more excited to be doing this. So glad you're watching along with us. Yeah.
You were bringing up the early days. I don't think people remember when we didn't even have our own YouTube channel, Bree. And we were talking about this before the show. So I want to just bring it up. We were recording 5 days a week. The first time we started doing this whole thing, 5 days a week, live every single time, in a room, and we were in person most of the time, in a room with no fan, hot as hell. Let me tell you right now, it was a miserable time. I'm just happy we went through all that. We finally get a playoff team. And I'm talking very premature. The Broncos have not clinched, but it is at least looking like they should. I feel like this might be clipped if they don't make the playoffs. It's going to be Broncos fan titled Broncos fan destroyed, Broncos fan absolutely wrong, something like that. But it's going to be exciting nonetheless, at least for right now.
Good. I respect it. I want it to happen. Michael Carmelini said the price of admission to watch this show is to hit the like button. Please do it. Yeah, he's a lot nicer about it than I would be. Hit the like button or else. Browntown wants to know, do you feel taller now? Not sure what that is in reference to, but nope, still 5'5" over here, just barely. I think without shoes on, it's probably like 5'4.5". I'm cheating a little bit.
5'4.5".
Yeah.
I think that's about right.
Joey's like 6'2" or something weird. LTB said, I feel taller after standing on these Broncos dubs. Yeah, me too. Hi, Samuel Castro. All right, going into the meat of the program today. I did mention very casually Riley Moss, but Joey, I'm a little bit concerned here just because it's been apparent how much his absence is really affecting the strategy for the defense. You got the backup in Levi Wallace. You're seeing then Chris Abrams-Drain get an opportunity, and then you kind of fall off the cliff there when it comes to what you have available. And at some point in the season, I'm always standing around saying, this is why I told you needed all of the cornerbacks and safeties you could possibly put your hands on.
You're right.
But because there's not an emphasis to so many injuries, it's just such a impactful absence. Like, who would have thought? We were all talking about whether or not Riley Moss would make a difference. Now he is the difference maker. How much, are you at least positive, in a positive inclination, because he's not been put on injured reserve? Like, is there a hope that he's going to be back? I just hate that they haven't talked about it since late November, right? So you lose him after the Raiders game. You have no idea of a timetable. I know teams like to be tight-lipped about this, but we don't even know what to expect from that. So that makes me very nervous.
No, I think that's fair. I think all that's fair. I mean, you gotta. They lie to you. Like Christian McCaffrey. Who remembers this? I'm a Christian McCaffrey fantasy owner, so I know NFL teams will lie about injuries and how serious they are. Sean Payton came out immediately after talking about, hey, it's not as serious as we thought, which is positive signs, right? Because Bree, when I first saw the injury happen, I thought the Broncos are screwed. They obviously rely a lot on Riley Moss. This defense does. I'll get into that in a second. But I think just having him back this season is huge. If you can go out there and win this next game and you get him back towards playoff times, you're going to have a shot defensively. The Broncos defense, when Riley Moss is healthy, is a way different defense than when they have to put in whoever else, right? Chris Abrams-Drains could be a promising player or whatever. I don't have nearly as much faith in him as I do Riley Moss. So I'm just hoping for him to return sometime soon. It's obviously not going to be this week. Even if it's a couple weeks from now and he returns last game regular season, I'm going to be a happy man. I just want him back at some point this season. It's huge for this Broncos success. I think you worded it perfectly. It's funny, Bree, how I was on this podcast talking about I didn't think Riley Moss looked very great in the training camp. I didn't think so. And then he completely shut me up and more. This regular season, he looks damn good. Not just good, really good. From a guy that we didn't know anything about, really, especially even had doubts because he came back healthy last year and he still couldn't really get any PT at all, to this season being their starting guy and playing it at a really, really good level. The Steelers are not, the Browns game, put it in perspective. I was saying it for a while, but this defense relies so much on their corners. They're blitzing a ton and playing man-to-man on the back end. You need to have good corners to play man-to-man as much as the Broncos do when they're the number one team in the league in running man-to-man coverage. Riley Moss, or you need to have competent corners out there. You need to have good corners out there even to maintain a level where you're one of the best defenses in the league, like they showed through so many of the weeks. You saw what happened when they put Levi Wallace in. It was Jerry Jeudy going for 200 plus. So I think it changes the strategy. I think in this Colts game, for example, you're going to see them run more zone. People are going to complain about it. I think it's just gonna have to happen, or whoever's on that outside is he could be cooked at any moment if you play it as much as the Broncos have for the majority of the season.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So I don't know if I feel better or worse than I did initially having that conversation, but it's a testament, right? These last 4 games, Lucy, go. These last 4 games are really going to teach us a lot about what this Broncos team, it is made of, right? Like the last 4 games are all about ending stretches of making a push for the playoffs. So if we want to talk playoffs, if we actually want to fiddle around with that and say that this team has an opportunity, not just to be, one and done, they're going to see how far they can stretch what they've already really taken to the limits. And I think with Riley Moss out for an extended period of time, you're just going to be looking for more grittiness, especially from the offense. That we've had to see this balance, and it hasn't quite reached synergy, right, with the offense and the defense. And then you have the defense needing to, pop back from a really poor showing. And when I say poor showing, it sounds freaking absurd because they had 2 pick sixes and a game-sealing interception.
Shout out Jameis. Save him from those pick sixes, please, God.
He's so great. I will say no disparaging things about him. But the defense has to rebound from that, right? They have to stop explosive plays from happening from a Winston to a Jeudy. Joey, how do they do that? Like, will it be possible?
Yeah, hey, listen, this is the main thing, and I kind of tried to highlight it when I said earlier, the Broncos are going to just plain and simple. The Broncos are going to, as long as Riley Moss is out, they're going to suffer a little bit on defense. I don't think they can run the same type of defenses consistently. That's basically the main thing. You ran this defense, and that's what got you to the point where you are now. Now, that defense was very heavily reliant on the corner play. You had 2 really good corners that you could just trust on islands. When one goes out, okay, I don't trust Levi Wallace out there on an island. I don't trust Amari Mathis. The Jerry Jacobs kid they just brought in. I don't trust any of the corners out there in that playing that same position Riley Moss was in. So what's going to happen is the Broncos are going to play more zone defense, probably dial down the blitzes a little bit. And so I think it changes your defensive strategy pretty drastically. It's not to say that the Broncos can't have success on defense. They still have Nick Benito. They still have Patrick Surtain. They still have their interior defensive line that's balled out this year. Like they could still be a very successful defense. It's just not going to be done the same way. And I don't think it'll be as good. You relied so much on those guys. It's hard to say, hey, we're just going to switch the strategy and be just as good. But like I said last time, the good news with it is Riley Moss will come back. You just have to deal with it for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why it just, at this point in time, it was not the injury that you wanted to see happen or to be an extended period of time, but hopeful that it can be rebounded a little bit. Man of Doom, which is a name I haven't heard, going to be hard to run cover 2 against Richardson. Need to spy him. Joey, I'll let you take that while I try to transition here in a second. But
No, all good. Yeah, I almost would want Anthony Richardson to have to run and have to throw underneath. Can I transition straight into my what to watch for? Because I think this perfectly does it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My what to watch for is, can the Broncos stop explosives? I was in Patrick Chiotti altitude adjustment and Mario Vantanzi chat the other day, and I was like, or maybe like a week ago, and I was talking about a good Anthony Richardson game looks like 11 or 12 for 30, and it goes for 250, and he gets 3 touchdowns, right? I think he lives off of those explosives. So the Broncos can force him in a situation where he's forced to throw dink and dunk passes down the field, they win. I don't think Anthony Richardson is built for a game like that. I think he's kind of proven that so far this season and last season. Maybe he progresses into a different type of player. I just would take away the explosives this week. That would be my big thing. Force them to have a long drive. That's what the Broncos should be trying to do here. I think it'll lead to turnovers. I don't think Anthony Richardson will be efficient in doing it. So that would be my strategy, at least.
Well, I think you have a prime opportunity to do so also, because I think Josh Downs is still questionable. And I think their offensive line is sort of going through a little of a shuffle there, just when their starting center looks to be returning since that week 9 injury. You've got your current center going down with a concussion. So there's a little bit of a question mark there. I believe the right tackle is hurt as well. So, or has a personal reason for missing, may not even play. So there's a little bit of an opportunity there to create a dust up and create some pressure on Richardson where you're challenging him a little bit there. I don't know where the explosive plays would come from other than in the run game with a Jonathan Taylor, at least at this present moment, but that's not to discredit what you're saying. It's saying that the Broncos have the prime opportunity in order to really get that accomplished against this Colts team, which kind of ties into, I believe, what all of us here at LTB were trying to watch for, and that's how does the defense rebound, prevent, and maintain kind of that dominance that they were fiddling around with the top 3 defenses in the league. And I think they've kind of fallen out of that simply because of some really self-inflicted weird give ups. But I mean, if Jameis Winston wants to sling the ball to Jerry Jeudy, I guess that's what had to happen. It had to be that kind of cornerstone to make it happen. But Zach's what to watch for leads into mine. So I'm going to start with his on whether or not the Broncos can sack Anthony Richardson. He's top 5 in pressure to sack rate, just 1 spot ahead of Bo Nix, and the only QB the Broncos have played so far this season with a better stat there was Lamar Jackson. So the Denver Broncos were able to sack Jackson once. The Broncos are 1-3 on their record when getting less than 3 sacks. They're 7-2 when they have 3 or more. And I wanted to tie that into mine because I think Nick Bonito is the player to watch for the foreseeable future. And I think he's going to be responsible for at least a couple of those. And that's not my bold predictions here in just a minute. But I want to say that the Broncos are going to be able to sack Anthony Richardson simply because of their high rate of pressure. And if they don't, I could see where that's a heavily attributed point to them not walking away with a win on Sunday, which would just be depressing across all fronts. But you have AR getting sacked 5 times against the Texans. So I don't think that it's that far off that this Denver Broncos team with Cooper, Bonito, Allen, etc., aren't going to be able to get it done here. But it's part of the formula, right, Joey? It's not just sacks, it's not just pressures, it's not just turnovers, it's not just limiting explosive plays, it's not just not giving up a bunch of rush yards. It's an entire formula of, if the Broncos can play consistently, then it's an entirely different conversation. But so often or not, there's kind of a swing. We saw it against the Browns and they eked that out, right? In an absolutely thrilling game. But yeah, I think Nick Bonito lends himself to this extremely well. He's got 11 sacks on the season. There's 4 games left. Like, he could be entering the echelons of those Von Miller conversations. I'm not comparing them as individuals. I'm saying the excitement, the playmaking ability, and just the overall dominance on the defense is already there. So yeah, I do think the Broncos can sack Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. I think both of the points are really good. I mean, very in the same vein, even. Like, I don't even think you and Zach disagree. I think you're pretty much saying the Broncos need to sack Anthony Richardson, and Zach saying he's hard to sack. And I think both things are very true. I think absolutely both things are positively true. Like, Anthony Richardson, you just got to think, okay, who's hard to tackle? It's probably the guy that's like 235 pounds and runs a 4.4 and, you know, comes out the tunnel backflipping. That I could imagine he's a tough guy to sack. You know what I mean? Like, the numbers equate to the athlete I'm seeing on the field. So it makes sense. Now, have the Colts really played a lot of defenses like the Broncos where they come in waves on that defensive side, where it's Nick Bonito, it's Jonathan Cooper, it's Jonah Ellis. They have guys. The interior defensive line has been better than we all, or I'm not going to speak for all of you guys. I'm going to say for me, they're better than what I thought. So yeah, 6'3", 250. He's a freak. Anthony Richardson is a freak show athlete. Okay, man, if this whole quarterback thing doesn't work out, go do literally anything else athletic. He's an absolute freak show. So
yeah, well, Zach Allen's 6'4", like 282 or something. So take that. Like, I get it. He's a big dude,
like,
right?
That's comparable, Brie. He could be Zach Allen, maybe.
It's caught 30 pounds is a lot. 30 pounds per square inch, that's even bigger. So I don't know if I'm gonna go the whole, he's unsackable. But yeah, I totally see it. He's slippery, he is adaptive, he's an absolute dual threat. It's going to be really frustrating to watch him out there because he's probably going to evade every single one of them by like ducking clotheslines, which is fine. I wish him well. I'm kind of excited to see kind of what resurgence you get, because basically it's his rookie season, right? He's had the ups and downs. He's had the 2-week benching. There's going to be a time in which Anthony Richardson has to kind of step up, and not just in the pocket. He's going to have to step up as an individual and go and take on his second year / hybrid third year. And I hope that he does well. I hope we see that development there, because he is completely just unnaturally gifted. But it's definitely not clicking on all cylinders right now. The touchdown to interception ratio alone is kind of embarrassing.
His completion percentage this year, Brie, it's atrocious. I was thinking about, for my bold, I was like, man, I should do a completion percentage one. Maybe I could catch him. But then I started looking at it, and I was like, all right, so he's completed 12 passes in 2 games this year. What am I going to do? I'm going to come on this podcast and be like, bold prediction, Anthony Richardson only completes 6 passes. I'm not going to be that crazy. You know what I mean?
6 whole passes?
He's only completed over 12 the whole year. I don't know what to expect. Or he's only completed over 12 twice this entire year. So I don't know. And to put into perspective how freak of an athlete he is, Brie, I just want to say this real quick. Relative athletic score, which takes your 40-yard dash, your height, weight, speed. It takes all of the combine pro day stuff, compiles it into a grade, and then you can kind of, rank them based off of athletes, everything together. Anthony Richardson is a 10.0, which would make him the most athletic quarterback of all time based off of his testing and height and weight. Most athletic quarterback of all time. I'm telling you, if this whole quarterback thing doesn't work out, maybe he could be Zach Allen, but does backflips. Like, I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah, backflips are great and everything. They're just, I don't. You got like 9 interceptions to 7 touchdowns, and it doesn't look great. It goes into my my bold, I guess. So I wanted to throw that out there. That the Broncos get 3 sacks on AR-15. Wow, Muse, you distract me every single time. Cody Daly said he was late to the party, and he said, at least I'm consistent. And LTB Muse said, always late to the party. You fit in well here. He's right. Listen, we don't have high expectations, not of you, and you can't of us. So it's a fair trade, I feel like, in this general ownership of, contributors and then us talking Broncos together. Because that's why we're here, right? You're talking with us. We're talking with you. Anyways, I think the Broncos defense, they have to create enough pressure to keep the ball out of Taylor's hands. Like, I know the Colts are going to want to have a run game. They got to force AR to throw the ball because it's going to be incomplete anyway. But Richardson has an average time to throw of around like 2.4 seconds. And that's in the realm of a Cooper Rush, Will Levis, Jameis Winston, Daniel Jones, Drake May. It's not that far off from being, higher or anything. But the Colts offensive line, it's just nothing to scoff at. Their tackle duo was highly rated last season. And in 2024, they're still, in the top 10. But they have inactives. They've got injuries. Their backup center, I already talked about it. You're going to have some question marks surrounding that. And is that going to help or hinder that time to throw there? Like, if you just get a little bit more pressure there, I think you're taking a whole ton away from Richardson in his decision-making and his decisiveness, right? Already alluded to it. It is still technically his rookie season because of the injury last year. I just don't know if the NFL speed is still clicking for him. So that's why I see there could be a little bit of a flurry, a frustrating factor. I could see Vance Joseph leaning into that, creating a lot of confusion, which could lead to turnovers or sacks or what have you. So I could see the Broncos doing that. And if we're staying with Zach Seeger's stat of the day, then that means that it bodes well for a win, a Denver Broncos win. So I'm going 3 sacks. It hits you right in the middle of the 2 sack games that he's had, which is a 5 and a 2. It doesn't look great. Everything is against me right now for this stat to hit. I just think the Denver Broncos defense is cooking.
So I don't hate this one, Bree, at all. And it is bold prediction, right? So I feel like you talking about it's bold. Hey, at least you're doing your job. A lot of people on this podcast don't do their job in the bold predictions. I don't want to name any names, but he's not on the show. He usually is. I don't, I'm not much to call people out or anything like that. You know me, would never.
I would never name names.
I would never do that. So I will end up taking you up on this one. I think the Broncos, Anthony Richardson's a hard guy to sack. I mentioned early 10.0 relative athletic score quarterback. I think a lot of the times when he's sacked, it's on his own self. Like, hey, why are you getting sacked, bro? You're 250 pounds. You run a 4.4. What's going on? Like, get up out of there, throw it out of bounds. And I think he does it well so far in his career. So I'll end up taking you up on it, but I'm not confident in it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is an easy one. I'm not confident in it. I think this Broncos defense is better than defenses the Colts have played in the past, especially after benching Anthony Richardson this year. Now you have him back in. I really do think people are playing into their pre-draft biases when they're talking about Anthony Richardson a lot of the time and how much they believe in him. Like, I'm looking at a quarterback. I said it earlier. He's completed over 12 passes twice this year in a game. Like, I don't see it as much as everybody else. So I'm not gonna sit there and pretend like this one is an impossible task. It's an interesting bet. I think you have good odds at it. I'm still gonna take it though.
just to be Joey Richards. I understand it. I know how you work. Muse said the Broncos defense will have a minimum of 4 sacks and an interception. I've been raised. Browntown also decided to make this a little bit deeper and said, I'll see your 3 sacks and raise you a safety.
There you go,
Listen,
Browntown.
guys. I don't know why everyone's putting on their poker shades and they're throwing literal shade at my non-bold bet. If you want to make it richer, that's fine. I'm going to write some of these down so that I can recall them on Monday when we're all wrong and the Colts just absolutely roll the Broncos like something wild by like 40 points. And they have to put Joe Flacco in just to get it done. I'm kidding. I like to say things like that because they sound
Joe
funny in
Flacco
my
comes
head.
in. I got the Broncos at 6 sacks. I think I think we should void your whole bold prediction if Joe Flacco comes in.
I'll
Simple
run
as
out
that.
there. I will count for one of them. Samuel Castro said Benito is going to have 2 sacks and Allen will have 1 and a 5. That'll take me over my total. I like the way that plays out there. But Jonah Ellis has been really fun to watch. And Cooper, I swear to God, is always right there. He's just being held. And it's preventing him from being able to get to the quarterback. So I'm going to throw that out there. Michael Carmelini's bold prediction is if the Colts win, I'll probably die. That's a great way of putting it. I will be hopping off the South stand. So get your cameras ready. Zach's bold prediction went in a different. Sorry, Joey.
No, if Anthony Richardson completes over, if Anthony Richardson has a high completion rate, like he's out there, he's like dicing us up. It's all surgical mode. He's 25 of 30 for 300 yards. Yeah. That's when I might revert to the Mike comment right there. That will put me to death. If I see Anthony Richardson dicing us up surgical underneath, oh my God, I might lose it.
I might have to take a little break and a nap. Who's the CEO of Let's Talk Broncos?
Very debatable.
I mean, it's dependent on the day and how either of us is feeling, but it's definitely not Zach Seegers. Just gonna put that out
I think it depends how we wake up on any given day.
Sure. Like there's a lot of things that go into it. Like you could call me a chief brand officer, and then Zach could be like the
Breeze
COO.
For anyone that doesn't know Breeze HR, some things are sent in the Broncos chat, and Bree has to come down and be like, not okay. She's HR. If someone does something, I'm tattling to Bree. For me, it depends how I wake up in the morning, what role I'm playing. I might not say anything at all. I might wake up all high power. We don't know.
The thought of me, I love how it's such a juxtaposition because if anybody knows me personally or like my life in general, me being human resources is hilarious. Like it's awesome. It just means I'm in such a in between a rock and a hard place. But it's a great question, Nate Hackett. If you'd like to apply, you can send your information over to Zach Seegers over on Twitter. And don't let him know why you're sending it. It'll be really fun for him to get those messages later. Fear me, she's got receipts. I used to. I cleaned out all of my screenshots. I felt like turning over a new leaf. So we're good to go there. This happens
DMs
every time.
Have a search function nowadays. So you still got them.
Oh, that's good. Never mind. Not all is lost. We're good to go.
Search function now.
Oh God, this can't be good. All right. Zach's bold prediction was that the Broncos would rush for 125 yards. I don't know if Nate quotation marks Mario Hackett. Do you think Nate Hackett is Mario? I've never seen his YouTube. So
I do feel like Mario would be a better coach just out of probably we'd have less injuries. I do also think, though, the introductory press conference where it was just all energy, like Nate Hackett came on there like he was on an Adderall and coffee. I feel like Mario's would be very similar. So maybe their intro pressers would be similar. Maybe we tone down the injuries. Mario probably hires me, so he's better.
I've always told Mario that he's like the golden retriever of people. Because he's just like
So
all
cool.
happy go lucky. And hi, Christopher Hart. It's good to see you. Well, we have enough rushes to get to 125 yards. Peyton lets Bo cook now. I think it's an interconnection there. You want to see both. The strategy of opening up the run game allows you to have a better passing game. You have the instances to stretch down the field. So I would think that the strategy here would be to do so, but I'm feeling like this is a game where you do have like an individual to go over 100 yards rushing, but who is it going to be? You have a Marvin Mims running out of the backfield. You have a Jaleel McLaughlin who is being utilized to a extent I was very confused about during the last game against the Browns. Like, I was excited by it, but I wasn't necessarily totally understanding where that thought process was coming from. So it depends on who's being, I guess, schemed to be the lead back on Sunday. Joey,
I think that's it.
do you see it be more of a contingency and a running back by committee evening, or do you feel like it's going to be one in general? Like, how do you feel about Zach's 125 yards?
I think it's interesting because if the Broncos go in a bye week, I would imagine offensively, Sean Payton, the number one thing that he'd be trying to fix is their run game. So coming off of that, against a Colts defense that isn't very good at all, right? I like yards per game. I think they're like 30th this year, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think it's like 30th or 29th maybe. They're low though on that list. I think that would be the number one thing they try to fix. I just don't necessarily think they have the backs to do it. The Jaleel McLaughlin thing is cool. I like seeing it. I just think the more you do that as him as your lead back, the less effective it'll get. I think he's more of a change of pace guy. I think he's part of a committee back. I don't think he's your lead back. This would be the week to me where it's like, okay, maybe the Broncos gave up on the Javonte Williams thing, and it's Audric Estime as their lead back or something like that. 125 yards, though, they're just going to have to prove it to me. So I'm going to take Zach up on this one. Before I start betting on Broncos having good games running, especially production-wise, hey, you're going to have to prove it to me first. The Broncos have been bad at it all year. I'm not going to just start betting on it now. I think this one's really bold, so I'll take him up on it.
Yeah, it's too bold for me. So I'm going to message Zach right now and let him know that we both are, we're out. We've folded. I still don't know how to play this game, but that's okay. Joey, what's your bold prediction for Sunday?
Yeah.
Since we're literally at 42 minutes into the show.
I know we're this is potting. We're in it. I think my bold prediction is the Broncos force 3 turnovers in this game. Anthony Richardson, I mean, I'm just going to give you my reason why. 3 turnovers is obviously quite a bit. That's not a low amount of turnovers. I just think Anthony Richardson comes and plays one of the best defenses he's seen. I think he sees more pressure, to your point, Bree, than he's seen this season quite a bit. And I think the Broncos, without Riley Moss, aren't playing as aggressive. And I would love to see Anthony Richardson try to dink and dunk the ball down the field when the Broncos are getting home with 4 rushers. I am anticipating a style of defense like this next week. So especially coming off a bye, Vance Joseph off a bye. Let's see what happens. I think 3 turnovers happen this game. I think Anthony Richardson is going to gift them a few, and I think the Broncos take away at least 1. So that's mine. 3 turnovers.
Takeaway. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation there. The Broncos are not the Broncos of the past, and they're not the Broncos of the past in this specific realm either. They're kind of really in the bottom of the league when it comes to forcing and retaining those turnovers. So I would like to see it happen. I think when you're down Riley Moss, you limit that ability to get those, but we just saw them absolutely decimate Winston. So it's like I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. As much as I want to see it happen, Joey, I'm going to have to disagree with that one simply because it's really bold. I could see, 2, right?
Yeah,
But
3's a lot.
Three's a lot, especially when you're talking about how much pressure you're already having to put on Richardson, and just his ability to really escape that type of pressure. Whether or not it's going to lead to yards down the field or points, I think is a moot point. But I think getting those takeaways against a quarterback like this, I could definitely see it. Like against Winston, he's good for 1, 2, or 3 at any point in time. Like you can count on that, death and taxes, But with this quarterback, I don't think I have enough to go off of there. So I think it's in the same realm as you talking about rush yards, where you're like, until I see them do it, I'm not gonna. Until I see how Anthony Richardson really works out in the realm of interceptions and fumbling the ball away. Although you could see some slippery hands there. I don't know if you're calling. You're fine. You can take your phone call, do whatever you need to do. We're getting.
I accidentally clicked on another podcast. Shout out to Twitter.
You're
free promotion.
Cheating on our show while we're live.
No one go to that podcast.
You might as well be like Zach and just wear an ear pod and listen to the other podcast while you're on.
Let me tell you right now. I just heard their podcast. We're killing them. If you guys, we just got the sneak peek. It wasn't good.
It wasn't. You heard it here first, folks. Absolute trash. Go ahead and I don't know whose it was. I didn't hear.
I don't either.
Go. Yeah, sure. That's what they all say. It's the one you told me not to worry about. Go ahead and drop your score predictions in the comment section in the chat. I'll give you mine right off the bat. I'm going to go 31-17, which is wild because that's Paul's. So me and Paul are on the same wavelength. Look at that, Paul.
Paul, a longtime chatter, longtime LTB listener.
I know. One of the best.
I would trust his opinion here. So I think 31-17 is a good guess. If we have 2 people in the chat guessing on this at the same time, hey, watch out. We got an educated fan base here.
This isn't bold prediction, score predictions. Like you don't have to have like a comeback for my score prediction simply because I gave it. Like you're not trying to win anything by trying to talk me out of it. Muse said 35-13, which is one of the ugliest scores I think I've ever seen typed out for some reason. It makes me uncomfortable. Like it should be a derivative of something. Christopher Hart says 30-20. All of these are Broncos. I'm also going Broncos. I don't think I said that to start. Zach said 27-19. He also didn't elaborate Broncos, which this is the emphasis of a trap game, right? Where we're all like just assuming that the Broncos are going to win, which is going to be hell on Sunday, but that is okay. Cody Daly coming in with a late bold prediction, throwing an Abrams drain. Well, I figured I knew where he was going here. Pick in there for big bold. I like it, Cody. We're going to put you down for that one.
I like it.
Let's see what else. Michael Carmelini said 31-20. I feel like we're all in the same range here.
We are.
Samuel Castro said 27-16. What's yours, Joey?
Samuel Castro and me are on the same. We're a point difference on both teams here. I got 28-17 for mine.
Dang.
I think the Broncos win this one. I think the Colts defense isn't very good. Bo Nix off of a bye, more prepared, settled in. Has a big game this next week. I just think they win this game, and I don't trust the Colts offense. I don't think the Colts offense is good. I don't think their defense is very good. I'm just being honest with everybody. Seriously, I don't think the Colts are that great. I think their offense has potential to be really good. I think Anthony Richardson kind of holds them back. A guy with a ton of potential, a guy that can become good. I just don't think he's good right now. So I don't think they're great. And then if you just look at the defensive numbers through the entire season, they're not good on defense. Mm-hmm. So I have the Broncos winning this game. They're the better football team, in my opinion. 28-17 Broncos.
You heard it here first. Sunday should be interesting. We'll be back to cover it for you here on Let's Talk Broncos. Tune in on Monday to hear all our thoughts about it. It'll be the trio of us. Presumably, I don't know what Zach's up to ever. It's not my week to watch him. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Go follow us on Twitter. Subscribe. Leave a comment. I don't know. Say something nice. And if you don't have something nice, I'll probably read your comment later and fire back with something of my own. Go Broncos, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys. Shout out to all of you.